Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to edit the Kathia Pereira segments. This will be a lot of fun because we're going to learn a lot of different lessons here in Final Cut Pro. First of all, we're going to learn what an event is, what a project is, and how to use them. We will also learn how to import clips from P2. Then we will learn how to place clips into a project. There's a few different ways. And then how to apply effects and transitions and music as well. All right, let's go ahead and get started. First off, you see your Final Cut Pro window. Over here on the left, you have what's called the event library. Now, what the events are they're like your bins from your old Final Cut Pro. They are where the clips are stored. For example, if I go to teasers, these are the clips that we store for the teasers, like we saw before in a previous lesson. Race for the Cure is all the clips that I shot for Race for the Cure. This time we're going to go up to Kathia Pereira. These are all the clips that I've used for any of her segments. And we will be editing the basic Kathia Pereira Segmento de Inmigración segments. Now down here is where we have our projects. These are our project windows. I have different folders for each project. Some of them, this is a particular project here. This is my news promo project. I don't have a folder for it, but this is what the project looks like. This is Laptop Exchange project. So the difference between a project and a folder is a collection of projects. So you can see La Casona like this has a whole bunch of projects in it. Kathia Pereira as well has a whole bunch of projects within that folder. Okay, so that we know the difference. Your project, if you were editing in the old Final Cut Pro, your project would be your sequence. So your event is your bin, your project is your timeline or your sequence. Okay, let's go ahead and import first. We're going to take our P2 card and put it into our P2 card reader. Now Final Cut Pro automatically recognizes the P2 card and brings it up as in the media import window. So this is the media import window. It's showing me the P2 card and it's showing me also all of my hard drives and favorites locations. And if I were to set my Kona card, it would show up here as well and I could capture in real time. Now the P2 clips are kind of strangely organized. The problem with this method is that you can't see the clips beforehand. So I like to click on this little guy right here that shows the clips in film strip view so I can see all of my different clips. Now I've got several clips of Kathia Pereira that I'm going to go ahead and import. And I'm going to import the one just before the bars on each one of these, with the exception of the last one. So I only want this one, this one. If I hold the Command key down, I can make a selection of multiple without having to deselect a bunch or do them one by one. Okay, there's another little trick here that I'm going to show you, but I'm not going to do. You don't have to import the entire clip. You can actually play the clip as you would. Select an endpoint.
No se pierda esta oportunidad. Podemos manejar. Eso no nos detenga.
And select an out point. And this clip will only import from here to here. It won't import the entire thing. You know what? Maybe I'll just leave it that way. Nah, I don't want that. I'm going to go ahead and let it go all the way. But if you wanted to only import a certain portion of a clip, you can do that simply by selecting an in and out on each clip that you only want the portion of. Okay, I want all of those clips and this one. And I hit import selected. It asks me which event I want to put it into. Now I can create a new event or I can put it into one that exists. And in this case, I'm going to put it into one that exists. If I were to create a new event, just to show you, I would give it a name, and I would choose the hard drive that I want the event to go to. Remember, this is where I'm going to store the clips. These are in ProRes format. They will be huge files. So I want to get the fastest and largest disk that I can get. In this particular case, Ang Video is the one that I want because it's the largest at 2.2 terabytes. It's also one that I have rated at level 0. It's 3 disks combined into one. But in this case, I'm going to add to existing event. A lot of these options down here you can use. Create proxy media, for example, will make a smaller, lower resolution file that you can use to make editing faster, and then you can export it as a larger, higher res file later on. This would be for something like 4K or 2K media. You don't need to worry about it right now for ProRes. You can analyze for balance in color. You can find people. You can say, okay, these particular people I want to put into categories, and it will categorize these for you in the event later on. You can also fix audio problems, separate the audio channels, remove silent channels if you choose to do so. Most of these options I don't worry about. I like to have a little more manual control, so I just leave it like this. We're going to hit import, and it will start importing the clips. You see this little pie chart right here shows you the progress, and as they import you'll see them little pie charts on each piece that you chose, like that. Okay, I'm going to close this window because while it's importing I can actually start editing even though they're importing. Okay, we will use these ones. These are her segments. We're going to click on the first one. We're going to open up her folder. Now we're going to right click and go to new project. This is now creating a project. This one we give it a name. Okay, default event is when you click on the project, what event does it automatically load? We're going to have it do Kathia Pereira. Starting time code, I almost always start mine at 0. Sometimes I'll start them at 1 hour. Video properties, generally speaking, it's set like this. By default, Final Cut Pro X is set like this. I hate this. I cannot do this. I always pick custom. I set it for 1080i HD. I do 1080i because we broadcast in 1080i. If you broadcast in another setting, by all means, go ahead and change it. My resolution is 1920 by 1080 because that's the format we broadcast in. And my frame rate is 29.97. That's the format we broadcast in. Audio render properties. You can use default settings or you can click custom. I like having it open. I always choose stereo because we don't broadcast in surround. My audio sample rate, I like to keep it 48 kilohertz, but you can change it should you desire. And my render format, I like to keep as ProRes. Kind of saves a little bit of space here. Okay, I hit OK. And it should bring up a new project. Okay, in your project, you'll notice this dark gray line. This is called your story line. This is the basis of editing for everything. This is where you lay out your audio or your story from start to finish. If you're going to add effects and titles and things like that, they will go above it. And most of your audio you'll probably put below it. Most of your music and sound effects will tend to go down here. But you can actually put your music and sound effects up here, and it won't affect it in any way. It'll just be normal. That's should you choose to do that. In this case, we're going to have Kathia Pereira. Now I'm going to show you several different ways to do this. In this first case, we're going to just take her clip, drag it, and drop it down here. That's done.
Okay. Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día. ¿Sabía usted que un residente legal puede pedir a su...
Okay. We're going to pick some different tools, and we're going to clip this clip down so that it's smaller, because we don't want it with all this on it. Alright, this is our toolbar. We can come here and select a tool. In this case, I'm going to hit blade. Now I'm doing this to show you that you can cut the clip right here, go back and select your arrow, click on it, and hit the delete button to remove that piece.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día. ¿Sabía usted?
Let's do the same at the end. Actually, yeah, we'll do the same at the end, but I'm going to use the keyboard commands. You notice on each one of these, there's a keyboard command. B for blade, R for range, A for arrow. In this case, I want B for blade. So I pick it with my keyboard, click on it, hit the letter A for the arrow, click on what I want, and delete. That was a quick trim.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día. ¿Sabía usted que un residente legal puede pedir a su esposo o esposa, a sus hijos menores de 21 años?
Okay, we're running 25 seconds, which is fine. We want this to be 30. There's another little intro piece we're going to put on it, but not yet. First thing I want to do is, we shot this on a green screen. I'm sorry, my green screen is not very pretty. Neither are the sides. But I created this really cool effect in motion that lets me cut out the green screen, cut off the sides, throw in a background, and put a title over the front of her. Check this out. Final Cut Pro X, in my opinion, is not worth it unless you have motion. Okay, I open up the effects browser and I go to custom effects. Look at this. I've got these selections for Kathia Pereira already. Okay, this is the one that I'm going to use. What's neat is as you scrub over these, it shows you a preview of what it'll look like on your clip. Okay, so I'm going to grab this, drag it, and drop it on the clip, and boom, it's all taken care of. Everything I need is already done. I love that. It's so cool. Alright, so now I'm going to put in a placeholder that's going to be about 5 seconds long. It's going to have another effect on it. It's going to actually have this effect on it. But I need to create the placeholder first. These are called generators. These make backgrounds and whatever you want. They're really cool. This one is my placeholder. And it doesn't matter. I'm just going to stick it in there. Now I'm at 3425, so I need to subtract 425 from the end, trim it up. Now if you come to the end of a clip and you want to move it around just to extend it or retract it, you can do that simply by going to the end. When it becomes this type of arrow, you can simply drag it and move it around. Okay, I don't want those two people standing there. So what I'm going to do is go back to my effects, and I'm going to grab this effect right here. And I'm going to drag it and drop it on top. And look at this. Isn't that pretty? Boom! It pops into her. Okay, just so you know, I have my background rendering off. It kind of affects my screen recording, so I don't like to turn it on until I need it. Okay, so now we've got a clip before with an effect, a second clip with an effect, and we're right at not quite enough. The little greater than and less than keys will make you trim by 1 frame. You can see the 503, 504 moving. Okay, just to point it out. So if I go to the end, I'm at 30 seconds. Alright, I'm going to add a transition. Here's the transitions browser. If I click on this, I have a whole mess of transitions. In this particular case, though, I just want a simple cross dissolve. So I grab this cross dissolve and I set it in there.
Bien-
And it's 1 second long.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día.
That's a little long. I don't like that. So let's change it. There's several ways to change it. You can right click and go change duration, but also look at this. Control D. Keep that in mind. Okay, when you change the duration of something, this will come up in blue. You just type in the duration you want and hit enter.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día. ¿Sabía?
All right, there we go. It's time for music and voice.
Legal de la licenciada Kathia Pereira.
All right, this is the one we want. So we just grab it, drop it down here.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración.
Let's cut it here with the blade tool. And I need to turn this down because it's a little loud. So I can grab this little line right here and turn it down. -6 is fine.
Este segmento es traído por la oficina legal de la licenciada Kathia Pereira.
Bienvenidos a...
It's a little long there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Remember my tools. Okay, zoom is the letter Z.
Este segmento es traído por la oficina legal de la licenciada Kathia Pereira.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día. ¿Sabía usted que un residente legal...
Nice, huh? All right, let's add some music. I've got music down here, but I don't remember which one I used. So I'm going to go back to my project browser. I'm going to double click one of these other clips. Until now, that's the music I used. But you know what? I just feel like copying it. Copy. And I can use this to go into my history and pull up my last one that I used. Paste. All right, so here we go.
Este segmento es traído por la oficina legal de la licenciada Kathia Pereira.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día. ¿Sabía usted que un residente legal puede pedir a su esposo o esposa?
That whole thing, it was edited in just a few minutes. Okay, I'm going to turn my render on so that you can see how it looks once it's rendered. We're going to wait 5 seconds. Let me show this so you can see the rendering process. All right, just so you know, because of the screen recording, rendering is actually a little bit slower. Turn that off. But now we can see it in real time.
Este segmento es traído por la oficina legal de la licenciada Kathia Pereira.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día. ¿Sabía usted que un residente legal puede pedir a su esposo o esposa, a sus hijos menores de 21 años y a los hijos mayores de 21 años siempre y cuando estén solteros? Si usted es residente y quiere unirse a su familia, haga peticiones familiares ahora. Como siempre, le recuerdo que llame a su congresista, llame a su senador y siga pidiendo por la reforma migratoria. Hasta la próxima semana.
Okay, I'm going to point out a couple of things. You may have noticed the volume is not very loud. I'm usually peaking at around -6. Our particular playout system will play out a lot louder than this, and because of that, I have to keep the volume at around -6. Otherwise, peaking at 0 is fine. Just be aware of that. That's actually for my purposes. The other thing is, I think she looks a little bright. It's kind of burned right here. Let's color correct that. Okay, I'm going to come up here. This is called the inspector. And the inspector has all kinds of really cool little functions in it that affect the clip. For example, cropping of the clip, distorting of the clip, clip stabilization, rolling shutter, different ways of compositing. movement of the clip. You can actually animate these. Any of these items you can animate within Final Cut Pro X. One I'm particularly interested in, oh, check this out. This is my effect. I can actually move her right here if I need to. If I'd accidentally shot her over this far, I could move her so that she doesn't block her own phone number. Move her up and down as well. I can also adjust the left crop and the right crop should I need to, for some reason, cut off the background a little more. And these are things that I particularly made within Motion. The particular item we're interested in here is color correction. So we're going to click on this little arrow right here. Okay. Now I've got color, which adjusts globally the white balance for the blacks, mid-range, whites. You also have your saturation. This adjusts the level of color within each item. Darks. This is global. And your exposure. This is global. This particular case, because she's burned in the face, we're going to lower this just a little bit, just to remove that burning. And I might, no, I don't want to desaturate that. Just brings out too much color. Alright, so now it's going to re-render that because I changed the color adjustment. Okay, rendering is done. Let's take a look.
Este segmento es traído por la oficina legal de la licenciada Kathia Pereira.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día. ¿Sabía usted que un residente legal puede pedir a su esposo o esposa, a sus hijos menores de 21 años y a los hijos mayores de 21 años siempre y cuando estén solteros? Si usted es residente y quiere unirse a su familia, haga peticiones familiares ahora. Como siempre, le recuerdo que llame a su congresista, llame a su senador y siga pidiendo por la reforma migratoria. Hasta la próxima semana.
All right, let's go ahead and export it. File, share, master file. Whoa, I gotta show you something there. File, share. Look at that. It's got a command. Command E. Keep that in mind. All right, this part we don't do anything with. Settings. Because of our playout server, I change it to XDCAM HD, 35 megabits per second. Everything else stays the same. I hit next. It's going to the spot transfers folder, and I keep the name the same, and I hit save. And while it exports, I go edit another one. I'm going to turn the rendering off. All right. Let's cruise up to the top here. Make a new project. All the settings are good. Okay. Okay, now we're going to do a different method of bringing clips down. Rather than grabbing them and dragging them down here, we're going to do a 3-point edit. Okay. Up in here, you can select ins and outs. Just like you did with the import, you can select them up here as well. So we're going to play the clip.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día. Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día.
We can just scrub to the end.
Migratoria. Debemos de seguir luchando. Hasta la próxima semana.
There we go. So that's our in and out. How do we get it down there? We can grab it and drag it still, or we can hit the letter E. The letter E will throw it down there right away.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día. ¿Sabía usted que existen visas de inversionistas para aquellas personas que viven fuera del país y que quieren venir a vivir aquí poniendo su propio negocio?
Okay. Grab our filters browser or effects browser. Facebook. Boom. Okay. We go to our generators. I like to use the placeholder because I think it's funny. 3426, so let's minus 425. And let's take it one more back. 30 seconds. Transitions. Cross dissolve. Filters. Let's throw this on here. Click here. Now remember the command key? Control D brings up our duration of our transition. 10 frames. We still have that music copied into our little section there, so let's go ahead and paste it. And the audio is still down here. I'm going to 3-point edit this one as well. Okay, now, if I hit the letter E, I'm going to show you what happens. It goes to the end. I don't want that. You also have Q and W. If I were to hit the letter W, it will do an insert, and it'll throw it in the storyline in the middle of whatever I'm editing right here where this line is. This can be useful, but in this case it's not. See what it did? It threw my little voiceover right there. I don't want it there. Instead, I can use the letter Q, and it will throw it below or above depending on what it is. There's one more thing I need to do. Even before we do the color adjustments and everything, we can actually do our adjustments here to the master clip. -5. Okay, so I'm going to put it back here in the beginning, and I'm going to hit the letter Q, and it will drop in there.
Este segmento es traído por la oficina legal de la licenciada Kathia Pereira.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día.
Okay, she's still a little burned. Video, color correction, exposure. A little bit. There we go. Doesn't look so burned now. All right. So this one's done. I don't need to render it. I already know what it looks like. Export. I used the command E. XDCam. Export. Save. Next. Cruise up to the top. You know what? Before we do that, let's copy both of these items. It's this one here.
Bienvenidos. Nada más a mejor para la próxima semana.
Now you don't have to do these in the exact order that I showed you. I'm actually going to do the color correction right now out of the order. And instead of using that other one, I'm going to use a gradient this time. I got a problem here. My voiceover is going to be a little long. So I've got a smaller one. I can do two different things. I can either find a smaller voiceover, which is fine, or I can speed her up. In this case, I'll find the smaller voiceover. We might do the speed up thing later. Well, let's put this on first. These are them.
Este es su segmento de Inmigración al Día. Sí. Este es su segmento de Inmigración al Día.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración.
You know what? Let's make this audio -5. I think -6 is a little too low.
Este es su segmento de Inmigración al Día.
Bienvenidos a Inmigración al Día. ¿Sabía usted que si ha sido víctima de violencia doméstica o de cualquier...
All right, 30 seconds and we're done. So that's how you edit the Kathia Pereira segments. It's very simple, very easy. We actually did 3 of them in 40 minutes while I was teaching you how to do all this stuff. So not too bad.